The Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you. And thanks for joining us. Still hot here in the middle of summer, but, hey, back to school. They're advertising back to school. I guess that tells you, isn't it, that it's time. Right? Whoops, there you go. I'm sorry.
Parents and grandparents jumping up and down for school to start. It's not a problem. It's a good thing.
It's been such a hot, dry summer. It just... you got to go up to like the Lake of the Woods or something to jump in and get in some cool water. It's just, or the Rogue River is low. And I did go on the Hellgate jet boat excursion for dinner. I hadn't done that like in 30 years. Took a whole bunch of friends, down there. And Grants Pass is a great place. I really enjoyed that. I hadn't done that in beautiful homes down along the Rogue River. That's worth just the trip. It's worth the trip to go down the Hellgate Canyon just to see the beautiful new homes that have been built there in the last 30 years. And in case you didn't know them,
it had to look a lot different. 30 years is a long time.
You should go down more often.
You looked a lot different when you went on the boat last time.
I know. It was really kind of cool, though. Anyway, it was a great fun. And what a great attraction is Hellgate.
Yeah.
And the Shakespeare with the tourists. I played tourist host for a week. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. Bob Gervais is here. He's the principal broker and owner of REMX Ideal Brokers, Medford and Grants Pass. And Joe, before you got here, I was telling us, as Bob walks in here with a big smile on his face, I said, Bob, what's going on? He's happy. He's happy, first of all, to be alive and with us. That's for sure. He recovered from a heart attack. But I said, July must have been a pretty darn good month at REMX, wasn't it? Just robust buying and selling. And you said?
Absolutely. This is the time. Yeah. It's been a little hot, but other than that, we have lots of things going on. Grants Pass, by the way, a wonderful market. They're some of the most beautiful estate homes that you'll find in Southern Oregon.
Rural properties.
Yeah. Amazing.
I've been showing some, and you're right. I don't know my way around rural. But there's too many roads out there, and you get lost. I get lost, as you know, pretty easily. And but there are some fabulous.
He knows Ashland pretty good, though.
Once he gets to talent, it's pretty sketchy.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, but when you find them, boy, there are some gems and beautiful properties up there, and I think people fall in love. I think Josephine County, to us here in Jackson County. Because you and I spend a lot of time up there. Well, Bob does too. I should say all three of us actually do. And people love it there. Yeah. And I don't think we give them enough credit for the beauty and the fabulous properties that are actually in Josephine County.
And just those activities you talked about with your guests in town last week, Shakespeare and the jet boat ride, Crater Lake is right up the road. We talk all the time about because of the climate and because of some of the amenities and the proximity to the mountains and the ocean that we have, it is a great place to live, and people desire to live here. And these things just underscore that. When you have friends come to town, they're pretty wowed. And lo and behold, 30 years later, we got Pete back on a jet boat. So.
Well, I was talking to some of the fellows who run the jet boats in Shakespeare, because I haven't been to them in a while, and they tell me that the majority of people that they believe that come on these tours, these tourist things that we do, are people who are visiting people here, and they all go together. You know what I mean? Like we took 8 people with us. I mean, that kind of thing. And
did you get wet?
Yes, it was a lot of fun. I have to say, it was great fun. And
of course you did.
And I do want to buy that one. I would move along the Rogue River at several of those places, by the way, I saw. All right. Well, today, the statistics have come out. We've been having our midsummer reports. Last week we heard about water and the situation that we're facing. Early irrigation cutoff. Remember, Joe, with Randy White and Steve Mason were here. We got early irrigation cutoff, and the Rogue is really low. I mean, the Rogue is low. I mean, so but we're going to make it through this year. It's the next year that is it going to be a problem. And out of all of those kind of that bleak talk about water. What was interesting was Randy said that it was really good for them because so many more people are paying attention who live in rural properties or even in urban centers about water because of the situation that we find ourselves in, and that they have been extra busy answering more questions, doing more things regarding people's questions about water. And I thought that was that's a good way to look at it.
This about 2 weeks ago, I had some friends come up from Santa Monica, California, and they mentioned 2 major things, and one was clean air, and the other one was water. Southern California having a real problem with water right now.
Well, the whole state is. I
And
mean, everybody is.
yeah.
I mean, look at Shasta Lake. I mean, it's
40 million people depend on that Colorado River Basin.
Well, anyway,
and more every day.
Yeah, right.
well, we really saluted the water managers in our valley here, because we can't do much there. But I think that the people who manage our water resources here, these lakes, have done a pretty good job this year and deserve some credit for that. And then we have these fires, and that doesn't help, and more water gets used and things like that.
You and the citizens of Ashland have also been a standout example for water conservation because the tap line from Talent connecting to Medford won't be online till September, and they're going to make it through. Rita Reservoir is still 99% full because
Isn't that amazing?
Of the water conservation efforts of the citizens and businesses in Ashland.
Well, thank you. When I don't shower and I wash my hair, once a week.
You can use my shower anytime.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do when you cut back with water. I will tell you. Anyway,
please use my shower more often.
The statistics, Bob, as we brought them along, they're out again. Those 3-month activities that go on, and from May through July, over 604 properties sold in Jackson County. How many in Josephine County during that time, Bob? Do you see there just units sold?
Units sold. It looks like 126.
That's pretty good. Isn't that pretty good?
Yeah, I mean it's a smaller,
different market. Smaller market. Well, anyway, new home construction continues to do well. From a year ago, there were 63 new homes brought on the market. This year, that 3-month period, 67. So that's continuing to do well, isn't it?
I suppose those numbers were 5 and 7, from 3 or 4 years ago.
0, 2.
Yeah, that's significant, and the consistency of the new building is nice to see.
And where
over the 1-year period.
And of those 67, where do you? This is the quiz. Where do you think most of those are coming from?
The new homes?
Yeah,
White City and East Medford.
I would think East Medford, White City also. Yeah.
Well, you're right. You're right on one. It is East Medford. That's for sure.
Is White City cool enough?
And White City is the same as West Medford and kind of thing like that. But,
the new, yeah.
Yeah, but East Medford continues to be the spot, isn't it?
Well, it's because they're buildable lots.
Yeah.
And they were same thing.
Yeah.
With White City, they were
affordable
buildable lots,
and
which we're running out of fairly rapidly, by the way.
Well, and these were all from developments that were pre-recession, that were out there, that got bank took them back, and now those are being built on right now. We're going to find out from Callie Madden in a couple of weeks whether or not we're seeing anything new applications beyond the inventory that, Bob, you just said. Have you heard anything?
What I do is watch what's going on properties that are buildable properties, properties that could be developed into residential subdivisions, if you would, and I see a few around here that have been approved, which means that they've taken to the city, they got approval, which means they've gone to the bank.
So they have financing. Is that generally what you would say to that?
We're starting to see some banks stepping up a little bit, where a couple of years ago they just hands off anything that was plain dirt.
Yeah. Wouldn't touch them.
And they're really going to be kind of the keys that those banks are to really turning it loose eventually.
Absolutely. It needs to happen because we're still running short of inventory, which is driving the price up.
That's our supply and demand issue, isn't it? I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing. Exactly what we have.
Eric Calhoun and Terry Rasmus, a couple of our local agents, quoted in the Mail Tribune this week, and just not wanting to see that bubble situation come back around, not to grow too much, because we've had some pretty significant rebounds, as the market has naturally come back, but.
Well, the changes are out there. There's no question about that. In rural properties, that we now are able to track on the MLS in that 3-month period, that we just had 141 of those properties sold, and that continues to be it's a big part of the market. 25% of the market.
We're seeing that market pick up a little bit right now.
Is that right?
A lot of people are asking for acreage property.
Mm-hmm. Under 5 acres, 62 of those sold. 5 to 10 acres, 43, and over 10 acres, 36 properties sold the last 3 months. That's just in Jackson County. So that continues to draw. Total homes on the market, that continues to rise. Remember, we were below 1,000 for months and months. We're down to 800 and something. Now it's almost 1,300 homes on the market. So they're coming back, but
well, take a
still
look
prices
at,
are doing.
for months we did our TV show on the radio show for months and months. The majority of the sales were distressed properties, either REO, real estate owned properties, or for short sale properties. And you can see here by the stats on the first page, I think, that has been reduced, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80% equity sales at this juncture.
Well, 5 years ago, in July, when we started our show, when we looked at these pages, 85% of the sales were short sales or foreclosures. 85%.
So that's really
5 years ago. This report is the highest I've ever seen the other way. 88.2% of all sales now are regular sales. That means only short sales and foreclosures make up under 12% of the market. Now that seems to me, in your grand wisdom of years of this, is that a normal kind of thing that we would have seen before we had the bubble burst?
There's always going to be foreclosures and so on and so forth. When the market was real hot, somebody got late on their payments. All they had to do was put their house on the market, and prices had escalated enough that they could pay off their debt and walk away free. But when the market went down and prices went down, that's when they got in trouble. So typically the type of REO foreclosure properties are properties that had some kind of measurable problem. For example, they had a bad foundation, or they had no water in a well, septic, and it outweighed the value of the property.
Okay.
Those are the kind of foreclosures that were coming in because people weren't buying because there was something wrong with them.
Okay, sure.
But nowadays, we're starting to come back and recover that. So you still have foreclosure properties, but you need as a buyer now to take a close look at what you're buying, have your inspections and so on and so forth, to make sure you know you're not getting in too deep, because just because it's a foreclosure does not necessarily mean it is a great buy for you.
Or that it's been taken great care of in the past 2 to 3 years, and some of those vacant properties really age quickly and when they're not taken care of and maintained.
Well, just look at the winter time when it gets so cold and they don't have the electric turned on or whatever. They get broken pipes and.
Well, that is really some good advice, though, because I never thought that
bargain.
The great bargain of the foreclosed property has tilted now. Now a lot of these are problem homes that are out there left, and you better double check to make sure that what you're buying. I mean, we always want to do that, but you better double check any foreclosed property. Now, that's a good point, and I never thought of that, but it makes a lot of sense.
And I still talk with buyers occasionally that are, hey, can you give me the list of foreclosures? And are looking kind of exclusively in that direction. So it's good to note that it's a changing game. Yeah,
and it's a changing game for the better, I think. I mean, values have come back to people's property, which lost so much of the value. You're one of them, Well, and I'm at the other end of that thing. I mean, this is what concerns everybody knows I live in Ashland, and all of a sudden, the prices are like going really high. And I look at what some people are listing their properties at, and I look at mine, and I go, I can get this huge amount of money, and I just can't believe somebody would buy that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, how it seems like it's too crazy again. And didn't that how we got in trouble in the first place, Bob?
It's not investment. It's a commodity, if you would. It's ruled by supply and demand. Yeah. So it's where you live. Yeah. And I don't think you're planning on moving real soon. Even if you got $20,000 more for the house, where are you going to move to?
See, that is what that's exactly what you go through your mind.
Arizona,
I can retire and do those things. But
what do you think about the Mojave?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting in the statistics. So, I mean, things are really doing well. The prices are up. I mean, you can really say that. I tell people when they ask me, I said this thing has absolutely turned 180 degrees from when we first started our shows, and I think that's really good for our economy and helpful. It's great to see new construction coming back, and we've heard from Brad about that. You like that? It's a good thing for everyone. Prices have come up. I think that's a good thing. And buyers, it always says buyers beware, right?
So let's test the people that listen to this radio station and you guys. Okay, for this quarter, Would you say pending sales are up or down?
For the quarter, May, June, July?
Yeah.
I would say pending sales, I'd say they'd be down.
Down.
No, pending sales are up.
What
What about new listings in Jackson County? Are they up or down?
Okay, I'm going to say they're probably up because there's 1,300 on the market, so they got to be up.
Go up.
They're up in Jackson County, but down in Josephine County.
Okay.
Average days on the market, are they up or down?
Boy, they were down for a while there. They were down like the 60 days for a while, so I would say maybe in the summer they've kind of gone up a little bit.
They're down.
Nope, you're wrong. You're not both wrong.
He's pointing to Joe.
I was looking at Joe when I said that.
That's the sidekick's job.
Yeah.
All right. Original list price versus selling price.
Well, that's always around. It's around 90-some%, which is really good. We're going to be out of time here. We're going to come back. The Real Estate Show continues here on KMED right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED, AM and FM this weekend. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, with you. I'm a broker with John L. Scott, Joe with REMX Ideal Brokers. We get together every weekend with you and our terrific group of guests, share information about the real estate market in Jackson and Josephine County, and all of our efforts want you to be a good real estate consumer. You know, it's still the biggest investment you'll make, and with so much out there, it's even more important that we do our homework whenever we get involved in any kind of real estate activity. That is for sure. Welcome to the show, Joe. Things humming along with you.
I didn't know I had to do homework. We have to be on the show.
I'll tell you what, Joe and I have
been a while.
We have a property listing. We have it in it's pending actually up on the Green Springs, and the fire was up there. I was going to go up there with a bucket of water, stop at Tubb Springs if it got close to this sale we were doing up there. Huh?
I had my hatchet and saw. I was ready, a chainsaw. I was ready to get up there and get after it.
We were going to save that house. No matter what.
That was the only one going to be left standing.
Well, you have to hand it to those firefighters, but those flames are HUT, hot.
And those winds shift. I mean, some of those volunteer firefighters up there had a close call at the start of that Oregon Gulch fire, and it is really, boy, there are a lot of them out there doing some dangerous work.
It's dangerous, and it's hot, and they're in rough territory. Joe and I covered forest fires when we were in the news business, and it really is a lot of work. And so, boy, I hope they get them out, and we'll continue to pray that they all be safe, that's for sure. We're talking with Bob Gervais, the principal broker and owner of REMX Ideal Brokers. We're going over some of those latest quarterly stats for us, which gives us a great picture of it. I mean, everybody talks about, is this hot? How is this? The statistics give us the real picture. And I think that's why I always like to share them. We like to share them with you because they really tell us, don't they, what's going on in our market.
Pete, how's the market?
Market is depends, Joe, in if you're buying, selling, or investing. Okay,
there he is.
That's
good.
I learned that from
good answer.
I learned that from Bob. There, that's how you answer that question, and it's true.
Yep.
Because right now, if you're selling, you're saying, "Hey, prices are up. I'm thinking maybe I can get more for my property than I thought." That kind of thing. That's a different view than the buyer, which is saying, "Hey, the prices are too high. I gotta make a lower offer." That kind of thing.
What if you're buying a rental? Is it a good time to buy?
Well,
I've got one coming on. A duplex anyway.
Well, when we hear Laurel Adams and the shortages of rental properties in our county, it's startling.
The vacancy factor is less than 1%.
Well, she had Laurel at All Cities Property Management. Last time she was here in the studio. She has 350 properties. She had one vacancy, and it was not a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property.
No.
Which means, what do you think is going to happen to rents?
Rents are going to go up.
Yeah.
Which is going to increase the yield on a given investment for a person. So is it a good time to buy?
Well, and it may also increase first-time home buyers who are renting to get into the market again. And you have brought some information by today about some of the pitfalls, right? Because I think it's really smart. If rents go up and you're renting, it might be smarter that you ought to look at that buying again because the interest rates haven't gone up that high.
That caught my ear in our first segment discussion that prices are on the rise. Interest rates eventually are going to move a little bit too. Those first-time home buyers, and I think of Ashland, that unique problem to Ashland is to have young families be able to afford homes there. There was a little window there where they were able to get into the market, and it's kind of
that window's
kind
closed.
of a closing
It's
again.
closing.
It really is. So first-time homebuyers and those considering and seeing those rents on the horizon on their way up, boy, this is really a time to take a good hard look, talk to a lender, and maybe see what your position is.
You know, and I'm going to give you some financial advice here, fiction and fact from Bob's Almanac, okay? But the time to buy or borrow money is not when you need to borrow the money.
Right.
And so for you guys that have a home that has some equity in it, you can get a great deal on a home equity loan right now. It can sit in abeyance. You're not going to get charged because you're not using it.
Mm-hmm.
And when something comes up that's good, then you're going to be in a position to have the money there to respond to that.
That fast. So you're
fast.
So you're saying there that if you have some equity, is to go get, because they're giving equity lines of credit again, right? I mean, the
Right.
banks are doing that again, that have that money already just ready for you to use if you want to get something now.
If you want the money, and your position is not real strong, guess
Sure.
what you think is going to happen to the interest rate?
It's going to go up.
It's going to go up. It absolutely is.
Okay. That's a
So
good
that's
point.
for the more seasoned folks
Okay.
that have a home, that sort of thing. I mean, I've been known to have equity line in my home where I see a great rental. I'll go ahead and use my equity line to buy the rental,
Okay.
put some paint and carpet in there, rent it, and refinance it, take my money out, put my back in an equity line, and now I have an income stream coming in from a rental.
So you refinance, where you take your home equity line, you
Buy it cash.
you buy it with cash or whatever, you fix it up, you rent it, then you refinance it,
Right.
Then you pay that back, and you've got the thing.
And
going.
now you have an income stream.
You have an income stream.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this information here has to do with first-time home buyers, and it's called 5 financial missteps to avoid when buying a home. Your credit is real important.
Credit's important. Yep.
When you go, no matter what. And so one of the things is letting your score drop. If you have score of this in the 600s or so, and you let it drop, it's going to affect your interest rate dramatically and or your ability to get a home. So when your credit is that low versus a 7 or an 800 score, something of that nature, you need to keep an eye on it and do some things that improve your credit rating per se.
Well, what would be
so
something you could do to improve your credit rating? I mean, you got to go get more credit, right? Isn't that how that works?
Or just get your balances down.
Yeah,
Or your balance is
Yeah.
down. Your balance is down.
You got to keep your balances low. They like that to have you no more than 30% of your value. So if you have a $10,000 line of credit, they don't necessarily like to have you at $9,999.
Like happens for real estate brokers sometimes.
Yeah, the figure is 30%.
30%, right.
So you want to pay down those loans or something to get rid of that baggage in front of you. And understand, and I think I learned this just after I got out of college, it's an easy way to spend money when you have a credit card. Because you buy stuff that you don't really need. And you really shouldn't buy it on a credit unless you need it really bad or something of that nature,
We've all been through that.
Yeah, and
many of us learn the hard way.
I think a lot of our
that, don't we?
I think a lot of our real estate consumers are much more savvy in all those aspects of how it all plays together nowadays too.
Consumer credit accounts for 35% of your credit score. So, when you have an opportunity and you go to one of these stores and they say to you, "Oh, you get 10% off this already 50% off deal if you buy a credit card from us,"
Right.
you wind up financing that anyhow, and they get their money back. And now you got one more credit card that's going to go on your account, and
I wouldn't do it.
makes it a little bit more difficult for you to.
They can look at that and it paints a pretty clear picture.
What are the other ones you got there, Bob?
Debt to income ratio.
And avoid the shopping sprees. It's real easy to go into a store like Costco and spend $100 pretty easy, or
I can think of a few things I need on the way home.
The bottom line is don't overextend yourself, because you can get in trouble that way for credit scores as you can overextend yourself in terms of housing. And you don't want to get something that you can't afford, right? I mean, isn't that what that's the biggest thing.
That's one of the things that we're going to be talking about in a second. The next one I was going to talk about is changing jobs.
Okay. Yeah.
Most lenders want at least a 2-year history, and they're lending you money based on your ability, not, how much money you make necessarily, but how you're going to pay it back.
How stable you are.
Yeah, a business loan could give, a commercial loan could care less about, how profitable your business is.
Right.
What they want to know is you have the ability to pay
back the loan.
Pay back
over
that
time.
loan.
You got to be able to pay
time.
it back. That's why we proved before we buy that you have the ability to close the loans. Remember those kinds of things? All comes back to what Bob is talking about. Hey, the Real Estate Show rolls on here on KMED. Next week, we've got Guy Giles and Summit Funding. We'll update you on mortgage interest rates. 2 weeks from today, Kelly Maddy, the Jackson County Planning Director, will be here, and we'll catch up with her. All that ahead on the Real Estate Show. We're coming right back after this. The Real Estate Show continues here on KMED, AM and FM this weekend. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. And thanks for being with us here midsummer. Gosh, lots still to go for summer before Labor Day. We're rolling around, as you know, and a lot of people on vacations. It's a fun time of the year.
Yeah.
If it wasn't so darn hot.
Oh,
I just wish it wasn't so hot.
Pete, you say all that with such enthusiasm and optimism because you don't have a football game to webcast for Table Rock Sports on September the 5th.
I'm going to go sit. So I'm going to go sit in a mountain somewhere.
You and Bob will be playing golf that evening, probably.
That's what I should do.
Right.
That's a probably good idea. We're today with Bob Gervais, the principal broker and owner of REMX Ideal Brokers, Medford and Grants Pass, and we've been talking here about the statistics that have come through, and which showing us the midsummer break here of things are robust, things are selling. When you get, you're the principal broker there, and you see all the deals that come through the buyer side, the seller side. Where are people coming from? What's going on there in your opinion? Is it moving here? Is it people locally moving around, changing, or is it a combination, little of everything, or is there something predominant a trend that we're seeing?
We still get a large amount of people from out of the area moving in, not just from California, but from other areas.
And are they coming
Washington,
for
Alaska.
retiring or coming for jobs? That's probably
they're coming for retirement. This is a wonderful place. We have good medical, facilities. We have all of the events that take place and so on and so forth.
No tornadoes or earthquakes
or mudslides.
Yeah.
Quality of life.
So retirees, it's certainly true. We see a lot of retirees, older couples coming through and retiring now or the next few years. They're planning. They're getting ready to do this. What about some coming for jobs? We had Frank Mania from Tycor was here with Colleen Johnston from So Ready a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about. Well, you were here with us that day too. I was going to say Bob was here that day, and I thought that was really interesting to hear what is happening in terms of how. The movement is not. You're not going to get big companies that come in here. Let's face it. We have air quality problems with that, things, etc. But there's a lot going on. I didn't realize that how much.
There's a lot of people that live here, and their jobs are out of the area.
Okay,
they'll fly in and live here and do their work on computers and so on and so forth. And when they need to fly to Los Angeles, that's what they do.
Well, it's the entrepreneurism, and this is a great place for that. So, well, that's good to hear, and it's great to hear that things are continuing to be robust, and we want you just to be smart. Just be aware that prices are rising. Interest rates are, as Joe's there holding steady. We'll find out a little bit more next week. But overall, it's been a pretty good year, I think. All right?
Do you want to finish your
list?
Yeah, well,
okay.
I only had one other comment, and that is a lot of times people go out there and buy too much house for that.
Too much
and
house.
maximize what they've been offered. Oh, you can qualify for $230,000, and they wind up buying a $265,000 home, which is totally fine. But if something happens to the economy, or one of you loses your job or something like that, you're going to have a hard time. So you may want to consider, spending the maximum you can, as well as in this kind of market where the inventory is light and we're getting multiple offers. if you go and make an offer on a house and you're at maximum,
Right.
and there's a multiple offer situation, you have no place to go.
Yeah.
You can't move up any further.
So if you start at your maximum, your lender says you got $300,000, and you start there, and you get multiple offers, you're stuck.
And you got to go to 305 or 310,
and you're
you
stuck.
can't go
And
in.
you're swimming with sharks that could put another $10,000 down like a bat, not even bat an eye at that.
You got to be. Well, that's really good advice to be careful about that, because so many times we're
Get
so
in the
apt
game,
to get to the most I can get from that, and because I really like this place or something. But the more you get, doesn't necessarily mean the smart move for you.
Maybe that's the stepping stone to that next place.
Buying or selling a home is a very emotional experience. Some people handle it well. Some people don't handle it very well. And I don't know. Do you guys think there's stress in our business?
A little bit, yeah.
Well, there's certainly. I always
experience with that.
Well, I tell clients sometimes this is going to be the most painful experience that sometimes you're going to go through. It's going to be emotional for you. But if you tell them ahead of time, they think people are prepared for it. I think it's a shock sometimes that you don't expect something, or you're not. Or your agent is not communicating with you, which is probably the number one complaint that people have, is because you get busy or whatever, you don't talk to each other. Well, you predict this thing's going to continue then for a while. You're optimistic. What happens generally in the fall, Bob, as we get to September, back to school? Are we going to see continue? I think it's going to continue for a while here, folks. I really do.
I think that it'll be positive, and it's tracking a normal trend of real estate sales in the business, where it's slow in January, February, and March, and picks up in April, and then runs through to September, October, and then start to slide off in November.
Right.
That doesn't mean you can't sell or buy in October, November, December, January, February, but it slows down by, 25-30% is probably fairly safe to say.
Yeah, at least that, I would say, that's probably true.
When it's raining, when it's snow out there, you're not getting hordes of people to show up at your open house.
We find out a lot of people.
There are those compelling reasons of health or employment or life situation, things like that always drive real estate sales year round.
Right.
Yeah.
And we find out a lot of people look in the winter, and just enjoy doing that part as well as they get ready for the spring. So, well, it's going to be interesting. It's good to see things are going, and your office doing well. So, I mean, buying and selling continues to be robust. We have nothing to complain. I guess the bottom line is, we have nothing to complain about, which is really rare for me and Joe to actually, and be in the same room and say that. We have nothing to complain about. It's doing well. Southern Oregon's Got Talent. We're almost out of time. You had what, 100 entry at
and not just the fair.
At the fair, okay.
Not just the fair, but in total. So
wow,
our judges brought it down to 15, and finally now to 10, which are our finalists.
Okay.
And the talent this year is better than it's ever been, and it's always been good.
It's been really good.
It's improved each year that you've done it, because it gets more exposure, and
people know what it is, and they're getting
maybe
their
they're
acts
rehearsing
together.
for the year to get better.
Our community, our entertainment community, has really come to embrace this event and come to realize what a great showcase it is at the end for those 10 that got on stage at the Criterion.
When will you announce the 10?
Next week.
Next week,
you can go to our website, and it'll be announced, and the sponsors. Look for the ads on Channel 5 and also the radio stations here. Also the Mail Tribune.
And what is the date of the big show?
October the 23rd or 27th. Kind of in that neighborhood, right?
It's in October.
October,
leave those dates
after
open.
the 15th. I think it's 7/22, I think.
We'll clarify that as the weeks go on. That'll do it. Bob, nice to visit with you. We'll talk to you soon as well. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show this weekend. Gosh, thanks for being with us, everyone. We're back next week. We're with Guy Giles. We'll talk about mortgage interest rates. Of course, this show repeats at 9 o'clock Sunday, and all of our shows at realestateshoworegon.com. Good night. God bless everybody.
Thank you for listening to the original Real Estate Show with Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys. For advice, guidance, or counsel on any of our topics, or to watch a replay of today's show, visit our website at realestateShowOregon.com. This show is sponsored by REMX, Ideal Brokers of Southern Oregon, Tycor Title, All Cities Property Management, and the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District. We'll continue our weekly quest to enhance the value of your property and to make you a smart real estate consumer when we gather every Saturday and Sunday on KMED for the one and only original real estate show.